Welcome to another episode of the Spatial Edge AI show. Today with me, I've got Tristan,
Hi.
and we are going to kick off with a little bit of a deep data discussion. So Tristan, some would say that it's better to have domain knowledge and be a data scientist, and you'll have much better outcomes than not having domain knowledge and working with a subject matter expert.
This could go both ways. Okay.
Again, we're in similar positions, but I
Yes.
disagree on this one. You agree on this one.
I agree on this one. I think as the individual developing the solution to the problem, the more you understand about the problem space, the better. You can choose and select appropriate methods to start your problem. You might understand the data, you might understand specific characteristics about the data and these features because you understand the domain and you've either worked in it or studied it. And I think that helps you kickstart your data science solution in a better place along a better path. So my caveat for not strongly agreeing is I think you also find yourself in a bit of an echo chamber then. If you've worked in a field, in a domain, you know what techniques are common in that domain, you know what data features are common in that domain, and so you might just get lost in everything that has already been done in that domain and not bring in a different viewpoint and maybe a bit more innovative thinking. So I think it's on the balance, it's better to be the domain expert and the data scientist in one, but I think the caveat there is you might not be as innovative, you might not be as somebody who thinks differently and can bring a different perspective on the problem as if you were the data scientist with the subject matter coming in. But I think 9 out of 10 problems, it'd probably be better for you to be the domain expert as well.
You've got very well balanced arguments, I have to give you that. So the reason I disagree is as a data scientist coming in fresh on a new problem, you've got a new set of eyes.
Yes.
And I think the biggest negative to being a domain expert is if you want to apply that into a new context or a new environment, you might already have all these preconceived ideas of how to solve it. Apply that, and it could be a good solution.
Yes.
But now you might miss out new insights that could have been derived if you didn't have that previous knowledge.
You're likely to be less creative with your problem solving.
You will be less creative. You might be, okay, so here's an interesting, here's like, maybe the better needs to be better defined, because on the one hand, you could be more effective because you can actually get to a solution earlier. Whereas on the other hand, you'll be less creative, or might be more creative in the alternative way, where you come in with fresh eyes and you're able to solve the problem. The second thing I think is when you've got the subject matter expert and you coming as data scientist, you can almost challenge each other.
Yes.
In the sense that now you've learned about the problem from the data's perspective, you're learning about the problem from the business's perspective, and then you can bring these assumptions and beliefs that you have and that you're seeing the data to the business expert. They can challenge you on that, and then in this discussion, you'll eventually develop a better solution. In theory, you could have the ability, but I believe you have to be quite a unique person to think that through in some way on your own. Or maybe, okay, let's make it fair. Let's say you've got two domain experts who are now challenging each other and reviewing each other's code, and they've got expertise. So in some way, I believe you could probably get to the similar result. But I still believe that in the creativity and in the freedom that the non-expert has, you will have a more interesting solution. I think now I'm doubting myself because I'm like, maybe you could actually be missing something again. Whereas the other guys have got a broader set of experience.
I think there's 3 possible ways it plays out.
Yeah.
If you are the data scientist, you are the domain expert as well. You're all in one. I think you will reach a typical solution for your domain quickly. Is a typical solution good enough? Depends. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Yeah, maybe you get a 10% increase or 5%
Yes, and maybe that's fine for your problem space. Yeah. That might be. If you are a great data scientist and you work with a strong subject matter expert, probably that collaboration is going to take longer to reach an equally good solution. But I think it has the potential to reach a better solution, but it will take you more time. So what is the cost of the project taking longer? And is the increased value worth covering running that project for longer? And then I think the third solution, the third possibility is it's more dangerous to be the data scientist and the subject matter expert, because you get into the personality nitty-gritties of the world. can this data scientist and the subject matter expert communicate with each other? Can they work well together? Can they actually help each other? Because people are complex, and a lot of data scientists are highly intelligent people with maybe not the best interpersonal skills. And I don't know about the subject matter expert. If they are the same, then you have the potential for them not working super well together.
Okay.
So you have that that human
so it can
dynamic.
For me, they can go both ways.
Yes.
It can also be the positiveness
Yes.
of, well, maybe these two do
Yes.
gel together, but you're saying there's also the possibility
Yes.
of not gelling well together, so they're not being able to
Yes.
get to a good solution.
My personal favorite scenario is not being the domain expert and the data scientist. It's being the data scientist and working with a subject matter expert. I love learning new things, and I love learning things that I don't know about. So to work with somebody who is highly skilled in their domain and understands that, I can feed off their energy and their passion for the problem space. I can bring my very different way of thinking to them into their problem space. And that collaboration I find exciting, and it makes me want to work harder on problems because I'm now pulled into this.
You're pulling up a very good point, and that is, I think if you're a domain expert in a certain area, it can also get boring.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important point, because if you've been working on the same thing for 6 or 7 years, there's a point where it's just not.
Yeah.
You're like, I think I'm going to change jobs.
Are you really going to work that? Are you really going to work that extra hour in the afternoon because you really want to see that result? You really want to understand, like, do these new features work? Does this new model work? Like,
and that curiosity and that wanting to understand the world better, I feel, is one of the traits that's quite common on a data scientist, because that's why you became a data scientist.
Yes, exactly.
Like that's what got you there.
Exactly.
Is that curiosity about how these things work and how you can implement them and how you can use them to solve problems.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting one.
Yeah, I think curiosity and sort of the joy of learning are immensely important traits in data scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think hard to come by.
I cannot agree more, because for me as well, actually anybody for me, it's more also anybody in a technical field, because if you're thrown into a deep end or an environment where you don't necessarily have those skills yet, you don't understand that tool, you've never worked with that tool before, but you've got a good basis and a good understanding, then having that ability to learn and that hunger to understand it and that curiosity will lead you to be successful, even if you have never done this before. And that's like one of the, like, if I were to choose, do I want a company of people who've already implemented a bunch of stuff, or do I want a company of people who are curious and able to adapt within environments? I mean, I would take the second one, because then you can operate and solve problems in any environment.
It's a no-brainer. The technology world is changing so fast all the time. What is the best or state-of-the-art way to do something today, in 2-3 years, hell, maybe even 6 months from now, probably won't be. So you have to have that continuous hunger to want to learn, to do better, to do things differently. You can't be the kind of person who, they go to university, they study their degree, they learn their skill set, and that's it. Now for the rest of their life, they apply that toolbox that they learned there. That's completely the wrong.
Else doesn't really feel human in some way. I don't know. Maybe some people do enjoy it.
I think some people enjoy it.
This may be ended there.
Philosophical now.
Let's not get too philosophical.
Moving away from data to philosophy.
Yeah.